As I take a step aside here, there is quite a bit of military members and their families in line because of this government shutdown. We're in day 9 of it, and they're here for a food pantry. There's all sorts of food that is available. And I spoke with some military member spouses, and I spoke with some department heads here at the ASYMCA on why this is so important. What's the difference in the amount of people that you've seen from today to previously?
So when we first started coming, there definitely wasn't this amount of people. It was a lot, but it wasn't this amount to where it wrapped around the building. But lately it has been a lot. Like we were here last week and we were in line for like 2 hours.
In a normal week, we usually run out of food about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Last week we ran out of food about 10.
Bueno, señores, como pudieron observar, ese es un video que en este momento está siendo muy viral. Se trata de miembros del ejército estadounidense haciendo fila en bancos de comida, tal y como los pueden escuchar. Esto es el resultado del cierre de gobierno. El día de ayer vimos a la esposa de un militar destrozando en vivo y en directo a Mike Maga Johnson. Todo esto por haber permitido este cierre de gobierno que en este momento está poniendo en riesgo no solo su familia, sino que la de miles, y no solo militares, personas común, ciudadanos en común. Escuchemos.
I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get the medication that's needed for them to live their life, because we live paycheck to paycheck. I heard you earlier say that you side with President Trump on anything that he says. Well, I just read an article this morning that said he absolutely wholeheartedly believes that there needs to be legislation put in so that we do not miss a paycheck. You have the power to do that.
Y bueno, por el otro lado vimos, como hace un momento, ese video de los miembros del ejército haciendo fila en bancos de comida. Y todo esto mientras el propio Trump anuncia que aceptará donaciones privadas para pagarles a las tropas. Así es, donaciones privadas. Pero tranquilos, porque parece que sí hay dinero en el gobierno, pero solo para rescatar otros países, como Argentina.
Argentina rescue package America first, and is this rescue package meant to help President Milei's party in the coming election?
No, it's really meant to help a good financial philosophy where Argentina can, after 20 years of disaster, because it was very successful at one point, and it can be again, like Venezuela. Venezuela was very, very successful, and now it's a dictatorship. When we can help our neighbors,
Con todo lo que está sucediendo, aún me parece increíble que todavía hay quienes siguen creyendo que Trump es America First. Señores, las imágenes lo dicen todo. Soldados estadounidenses haciendo fila por comida en este cierre de gobierno. Y ojo que este es el segundo shutdown, cierre de gobierno, que ocurre mientras Trump ha tomado las riendas del gobierno, porque sucedió en el primer mandato. Los mismos soldados que hace nada estaban siendo desplegados en las calles para reprimir protestas, ahora están esperando por una comida donada. Realmente la ironía en su forma más cruel. Por si fuera poco, Trump y su socio político Maga Mike Johnson fueron humillados públicamente, ¿no?, por esta esposa militar que los enfrentó cara a cara sin miedo.
Hi, Mr. Johnson. So my question or comments are related to what you said yesterday about not being open to pass any legislation to ensure that military gets paid. I'm sure you can tell by my voice I'm very shaky. Just want you to hear a little bit about my family. I have 2 medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get the medication that's needed for them to live their life, because we live paycheck to paycheck. I heard you earlier say that you side with President Trump on anything that he says. Well, I just read an article this morning that said he absolutely wholeheartedly believes that there needs to be legislation put in so that we do not miss a paycheck. You have the power to do that. And as a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military's getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes six figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
All right, Samantha.
Samantha, I'm so sorry to hear about your situation. The reason I've been so angry this week, and they've been calling me out on media, Johnson's angry. I am angry because of situations just like yours. I have a big military district, and my district is the home of the Global Strike Command at Barksdale Air Force Base and Fort Polk, the Joint Readiness Training Center. I have one of the biggest military districts and military families in America. I have a lot of airmen and soldiers who are deployed right now, and they have young families at home, and they have children in health situations like yours. This is what keeps me up at night. I want you to hear something very clearly. The Republicans are the ones delivering for you. We had a vote to pay the troops. It was the continuing resolution 3 weeks ago. Every single Republican but two voted to keep the government open so that your paycheck can flow. Every Democrat in the House, except for one, voted to close it. The Democrats are the ones that are preventing you from getting a check. If we did a vote on the floor, pay troops, it's not a lawmaking exercise because Chuck Schumer is going to hold that up in the Senate. He is demonstrating by voting now 6 times to keep the government closed that he does not want the troops to be paid. And you should listen to his comments last night as reported this morning. He is enjoying this. He said every day gets better for us, quote unquote. Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are preventing your family from getting the care they need, not Republicans, and my heart goes out.
Mientras tanto, Trump y los republicanos, desesperados, buscando una manera de mantener el cierre sin asumir el costo político. ¿Por qué? Porque quieren seguir bloqueando fondos que dejan a millones de estadounidenses sin salud, sin estabilidad y, claro como no, con los soldados sin sueldo.
Shutdown. You have the money to pay the troops on October 15th. Okay. How is
I actually have a man who is a very wealthy person. You'll know that when I tell you this. Who called a donor, a great gentleman, and he said, if there's any money necessary, shortfall, for the paying of the troops, then I will pay it, meaning he will pay it. How about that? I said, look, we're not going to need it. We're going to take care of our troops. But this was a position that's being forced upon us by Democrats. And all that.
En este momento hay familias militares que han tenido que romper los ahorros, dejar de pagar cuentas, racionar comida, acudir a la ayuda de emergencia. Es más, hemos visto hasta figuras como Marjorie Taylor Greene, la misma que siempre lo defiende, reconociendo que el costo de vida está por las nubes, a pesar de todas las promesas de Trump.
I don't think it's good advice that a government shutdown is going to help Republicans in the midterms. I don't agree with that. I also don't think it's good advice that Republicans ignoring the health insurance crisis is going to be good for midterms. I actually think that would be very bad for midterms. And I think that, just not staying focused on America First policies is detrimental as well.
Yeah. And on that note, are you concerned about the cost of living?
Very.
That the President Trump said he would lower.
The inflation crushed people in the past 4.5 years, and the costs have not come down. I myself can tell you my apartment here in Washington, D.C., the electricity bill is $100 more than it was last year, because you can look at your own bill and look at cost. Prices have not come down. That is a reality. People's wages have not gone up. That's another reality. And so Americans are continuing to have a very difficult time getting by. And I'll go a step further. I'm a mom. And so when it comes to what is affecting my adult children's lives, who are 22, 26, and 28, I'm going to be 1,000% fighting for them over any politician and any party. And I can tell you right now, that generation, they are barely making it, and they're very hopeless for their future.
Lo más cínico de todo esto es que Trump sigue impulsando la militarización de las ciudades estadounidenses, mientras los mismos soldados no tienen ni para poner la comida en la mesa.
That's not who we are. That's not our idea of America. We don't want masked, folks with rifles and machine guns patrolling our streets.
Yeah.
We want cops on the beat who know the neighborhood and the kids around. And that's how we keep the peace around here. We don't want, kangaroo courts and trumped up charges. That's what happens in other places that we used to scold for doing that. We want like our court system and our Justice Department and our prosecutors to be, and our FBI to be just playing things straight and looking at the facts and not meddling in politics the way we've seen lately.
Y ojo que nadie se confunda. Este repentino interés de Trump por ayudar a las tropas, buscar donantes privados para poder pagarles, no es por compasión. Peor aún, patriotismo. Es por miedo. Miedo a que políticamente lo destruya el hecho de que está perdiendo apoyo en todos los frentes, especialmente en el tema de utilizar al ejército dentro del país. La gente, lógicamente, no quiere militares patrullando las calles. Los propios líderes del ejército están empezando a escribir cartas públicas, alertando sobre esta situación caótica y lo peligrosa que puede ser la situación más adelante que Trump está generando.
Pete Hegseth, Stephen Miller, and Donald Trump have outright said they're going to try to purge the ranks of the military of people that don't agree with them, that have different thoughts, different politics, and that is just so un-American and antithetical to our system and dangerous for our system of nonpartisan national security and military.
Así que si el pueblo estadounidense ya lo ve claro, pues entiendan. Donald Trump no es America First, es Trump First, tal cual como siempre lo ha sido. Ahora bien, señores, otro tema en el cual Trump acaba de perder todo el apoyo. Nuevas encuestas revelan que la mayoría de los estadounidenses en este momento piensan que esta ofensiva migratoria, estas redadas, estas detenciones violentas, esas imágenes que parecen sacadas de una dictadura, ya fueron demasiado lejos. Lo más interesante no es solo el número, sino lo que representa. El momento en el cual incluso los propios votantes del trumpismo empiezan a decir que Trump cruzó la línea. En las últimas semanas, el país ha estado viviendo escenas realmente duras, ¿no? Agentes de ICE usando fuerza excesiva, arrestos a personas que ni siquiera eran inmigrantes indocumentados, e incluso vimos ataques contra ciudadanos estadounidenses y miembros de la iglesia que solo intentaban ayudar. Y mientras todo esto ocurre, Trump y su administración siguen diciendo que todo está bajo control, que solo están haciendo cumplir la ley. Pero a ver, las imágenes cuentan otra historia.
Joining us now, staff writer for The Atlantic, Caitlin Dickerson, former Assistant Secretary for Counterterrorism and Threat Prevention at DHS, Samantha Vinograd, and former U.S. Attorney, and MSNBC legal analyst Barbara McQuaid. So, Caitlin, you're reporting on that broad definition of what it means to be in violation of this executive order. How can that be used now?
The story that I wrote looks at this expansion on behalf of the administration, going after not just immigrants who Trump clearly articulated in running for office he wanted to deport en masse, but really anyone standing up to defend them. And I feel like I just have to start this conversation by acknowledging how disturbing it is to watch the video that you just showed us, in particular when you point out that one of those arrests, at least one of those arrests, was of a United States citizen. And those aggressive tactics I found in my reporting are also being turned on people who are, in a completely democratic way, trying to make sure that people are able to access their full legal rights. So I interviewed groups on the ground who are filming, and I want to point out they're a little different from the ones we just looked at. There are groups that are filming ICE agents making arrests to hand the footage over to people's lawyers. They're not posting it online, and they're not trying to intervene in arrests or trying to stop them in any way. One of these groups is called Organized Communities Against Deportation in Chicago. And despite the kind of careful precautions that they're taking in doing their work, they've had people tailed in their cars by ICE officers, people who had legal status, like the woman we just saw, temporarily detained, even though they were, either U.S. citizens or legal permanent residents. People doing similar work have been thrown to the ground. Obviously, there was footage people saw of a clergyman being hit in the head in Chicago with a pepper bullet. So, this violence and these attacks are spreading, and they're also impacting lawyers from mainstream immigrants' rights groups, people who've spent lots of time on the Hill. Those groups are facing the threat of losing access to public loan forgiveness, like you pointed out in the image you showed earlier. Also, the Trump's Justice Department has tried to levy financial sanctions against lawyers, levied congressional inquiries against them, demanding their records, saying that they're part of terrorist groups and that they're funding violent riots. So there's just this rapidly expanding definition of what is permissible. And it's becoming increasingly apparent that any opposition to the administration at all could land you in a situation like
I think we just lost Caitlin. You're frozen. Hopefully we get you back. But it's like a constricting definition of what is actually permissible and a constricting definition of what the First Amendment actually protects. In fact, here's what DHS is now saying in response to these claims of peaceful protests in Chicago. DHS says the First Amendment protects speech and peaceful assembly, not rioting. DHS is taking reasonable and constitutional measures to uphold the rule of law and protect our officers. ICE officers are facing a nearly 1,000% increase in assaults against them as they put their lives on the line to arrest murderers, rapists, and gang members. But Sam, I didn't see a murderer or a rapist or a gang member in the videos that we just showed. I haven't seen allegations that the woman up top who was pulled from her car was a murderer, a rapist, or a gang member. How is it different at DHS today than it was when you were there?
Well, under any Department of Homeland Security, any secretary, Katie, there are both laws as well as policies that govern the tactics that immigration enforcement officers may use when conducting an immigration enforcement action. Joyce will likely talk about the legal aspects of this, but from a policy perspective, the secretary, the ICE director set internal policies on what de-escalation tactics may be used in particular circumstances and what use of force may be used in particular circumstances based upon the threat that is assessed when engaging in an immigration enforcement action. These sorts of cases have gone to the Supreme Court before, and the Supreme Court has ruled most recently this year that the use of force by law enforcement agents must be objectively reasonable based on the totality of circumstances in any particular case. When I was at DHS, certainly immigration agents, when apprehending an unarmed female, used one set of tactics versus going on an immigration enforcement raid against a suspected terrorist or cartel member. So I think there's certainly the likelihood that internal guidance has changed, internal policies have changed, and I think it is very probable that some of these cases may make their way up to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, what about the legal pushback here? How, Joyce, do you fight this if DHS is claiming you're rioting or you're obstructing? And Barb, excuse me, and the video shows that you're being pulled from your car forcibly. What legal recourse do you have?
Well, certainly in that situation, a person has the ability to file a civil lawsuit against the officer. That's where masking and the failure to wear insignias can become very problematic because it can be difficult for a person to know and identify the person who has violated their rights. There is the ability to file a civil rights lawsuit if somebody is violating your civil rights through an illegal seizure. One of the challenges we've seen in recent years is qualified immunity that applies to officers when they are exercising their official duties, and you have to show that they were violating a known legal right. That can get tricky in a situation where tensions are escalating, and it becomes more difficult to show that they act in bad faith. I think, Katie, one of the biggest concerns I have about what's happening now is we are hiring up ICE agents very quickly because they want to increase the ranks. We've got people trained to do certain kinds of law enforcement activities, not crowd control activities. And we're throwing agents in situations they're ill-equipped to handle. And so it's really not surprising that we are seeing these incidents escalate. Certainly, no one has a right to obstruct or impede a federal agent in his work. But unless we have agents who are carefully trained to de-escalate, show a lot of patience, and a lot of calmness under these situations, I think it's inevitable that we're going to see these kinds of conflicts because of this effort to create a show of force in American cities.
Do you see any way to legally defend what we saw in Chicago with the pastor who got shot with a pepper bullet? He was standing on the side of a building praying. Here it is. You can see him right there. He just got hit in the face, in the head with a pepper bullet. Is there any legal defense of that?
No, I mean, I think that video is something everybody has seen. He is using words. He is trying to plead with ICE agents. He is offering no threat. I can't imagine that there can be any legal defense for what they did in that situation. I mean, in some ways, officers have to have thick skins. If someone's talking at you and you don't want to hear what they have to say, you close your ears unless they are in any way inhibiting what you're trying to do. But they're standing on a roof overseeing a group of people on the ground, and he's expressing his views in a peaceful way. I don't see how there's any legal way to defend what happened in that situation.
Doesn't even look like that many people there. So, Peter Baker, I'll put up some polling on Donald Trump's handling of immigration. Here's a New York Times standard poll on the Trump handling of immigration. Let's put it up so I can see the numbers because I don't have them on my sheet. Okay, so handling somewhat or strongly approved, 47%, strongly somewhat disapprove, 52%, gone too far is next, 51% of the country say that Donald Trump's immigration enforcement actions have gone too far. How does the White House feel about this? We had Leanne Caldwell on from Puck the other day saying that there is some concern and discomfort among Republicans on Capitol Hill over the extent to which they are enforcing immigration.
Yeah, I think that a lot of Americans voted for Donald Trump because they did think he was going to be tough on immigration, and they support his actions at the border, where he's basically done a lot to shut down the flow of people coming into the country illegally. That's
Lo que acabamos de ver es el corazón del problema. Donald Trump dice que está persiguiendo criminales, pero las cámaras muestran algo muy diferente. Ciudadanos y residentes legales siendo detenidos, siendo golpeados. Es más, en algunos casos, incluso heridos por oficiales federales. Y esto no es un hecho aislado, porque según la periodista Caitlin Dickerson, que es del portal Atlantic, las tácticas del gobierno ya no se dirigen solo contra inmigrantes, sino también contra quienes los defienden, los graban o los representan legalmente. O sea, en otras palabras, si te opones, te conviertes también en parte del objetivo. Y eso es muy peligroso. Cuando un gobierno te empieza a tratar el tema de la disidencia como una amenaza, ya no existe más gobierno democrático. Empieza el autoritario. Y claro, Trump intenta justificarlo con el típico argumento de que estamos enfrentando asesinos, violadores y pandilleros, pero aquí hay una diferencia muy clave. Hasta el momento no hay pruebas de que la mayoría de las personas afectadas sean criminales. Claro que existe un porcentaje que sí, pero la mayoría no. De hecho, hasta el propio reportaje, ¿no?, nos muestra cómo las redadas se están realizando contra personas comunes, trabajadores, vecinos, incluyendo clérigos, que simplemente estaban presentes. Y así fue como vimos esta encuesta reveladora, ¿no? Porque según el New York Times, más del 50% de los estadounidenses dicen que las políticas migratorias de Trump han ido demasiado lejos. Ojo que esto incluye no solo demócratas, una parte significativa de republicanos que en su momento, pues, apoyaron el control fronterizo, pero no esta violencia indiscriminada. El gran error de Donald Trump es confundir firmeza con crueldad. Ser firme con la ley no significa convertir el país en un campo de persecución. Y claro, la gente hoy lo está notando. Por eso es que su narrativa de el presidente fuerte que protege la frontera está empezando a colapsar. Porque ya no parece fuerza, esto parece desesperación. Y ojo, muchos votantes conservadores sí querían más control migratorio, pero es que no esperaban ver a ciudadanos estadounidenses arrestados por error, peor aún sacerdotes siendo golpeados con balas de pimienta. Eso no es la seguridad nacional que buscaban. Lo que está pasando con Donald Trump y su política migratoria, amigos, va a ser una lección muy clara. Cuando un líder utiliza el miedo como una herramienta política, tarde o temprano, ese miedo se vuelve en su contra. La encuesta no solo mide la desaprobación, sino que mide un cambio de conciencia colectiva. Ya la gente no se va a comer esta narrativa del enemigo interno. Ya no van a creer que la solución sea la violencia o más redadas o menos derechos. Por eso, señores, esto sin duda alguna es un bombazo para Trump. Pero bueno, ¿qué opinan ustedes? ¿Creen que esta encuesta será una señal de que Estados Unidos está despertando? ¿O que Trump va a redoblar su discurso para intentar recuperar ese apoyo? Pues bueno, los leo en los comentarios. Muchísimas gracias por acompañarme en este video. Recuerden, como siempre, déjame tu like, comparte el contenido y suscríbete al canal. Nos vemos en el próximo video. Hasta luego.